Have you ever met someone who changed your life without even trying? A girl with quiet strength, a wild horse no one could control, and a rancher who thought he'd seen it all. This is their story. What happened next? If you're loving this journey so far, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story like this again. Leave a comment below. Where are you watching from? We'd love to hear from you. It started on a cold morning in a small town nestled between rolling hills and endless skies. The kind of place where everyone knew each other's names, but not always their stories. A man named Harold Winters, grizzled and set in his ways, owned a ranch that had been his family for generations. He was known across the valley as a tough, stubborn man, especially when it came to horses. To him, training them meant showing who was boss, using old methods passed down through the years. But there was one horse that defied everything Harold believed in. He called it Dakota, a wild Mustang rescued from the mountains, untamable and full of fire. No matter how many times Harold tried to break Dakota's spirit, the horse resisted. It reared, kicked, and refused to be led. Many said Dakota would never trust anyone. And then a little girl showed up. Her name was Lily Palmer. Just 10 years old, soft-spoken, and still carrying the weight of grief after losing her parents in an accident. She'd moved into her grandmother's old home at the edge of town, quiet and unsure of her place in the world. Lily had always loved horses. Her mother had taught her to ride before she could walk properly, but since the accident, she hadn't spoken much at all. One day, after school, Lily stood to give Harold's ranch, eyes wide behind her glasses, backpack slung over one shoulder. "Can I see the horse?" she asked quietly. Harold raised an eyebrow. "You mean Dakota?" She nodded. "He's not for visiting," he said, arms crossed. "He's dangerous." "I won't touch him," Lily said, voice steady. "I just want to watch him." There was something about the way she said it. Something calm, sure, and gentle that made Harold hesitate. Finally, he gave in. 5 minutes, he muttered. That 5 minutes turned into an hour. Every afternoon after that, Lily came back. She didn't try to touch Dakota or talk to him. She simply sat near the corral, reading or sketching, letting the Mustang get used to her presence. At first, Dakota paced, snorted, and turned his back to her. But slowly, he began to notice her. He stopped reacting. Then he started watching her. 2 weeks passed. Harold watched from afar, skeptical but curious. He'd spent months trying to force Dakota into submission. This little girl hadn't done anything, except show up. "What are you doing with that horse?" he finally asked one day. Lily looked up from her book. "Just being here." Harold scoffed. "Girl, I've been breaking horses for 50 years. You don't gentling them by having a picnic." "My mom used to say animals know what's in your heart," Lily replied softly. "What's in yours when you're with Dakota?" The question caught Harold off guard. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Frustration, pride, fear, all mixed together. Lily shrugged. "Maybe if you let him see the good parts, he'll come closer." Weeks turned into months. Lily started talking more, smiling more. At school, she went from silent to standing in front of her class, giving a presentation on Mustangs, how they were descendants of Spanish horses, how they survived harsh lands by being smart, strong, and free. "They teach us about resilience," she told her classmates, "about surviving loss and finding new families, about trusting again even when it's scary." Even the teacher, Miss Wilson, was surprised and proud. Meanwhile, Harold kept watching and changing. One day, he invited Lily into the barn. "Stay near the door," he warned. "Don't make any sudden moves." Inside, Dakota pawed the ground, ears flat. But when Lily stepped forward, he paused. "Don't move," Harold whispered. "Let him come to you." Dakota approached cautiously, sniffing her hands, then her hair. Then, in a moment no one expected, he lowered his head and rested his forehead against her chest. Lily slowly reached out and placed her hand on his neck. No one spoke. Not Harold, not Martha, who watched from the doorway, not Maria, the ranch hand, who had tears in her eyes. Dakota had chosen her. Word spread quickly. People came from neighboring towns to see the impossible. a wild Mustang calmed by a child. Even the local sheriff, Tom Morgan, dropped by. "Heard you've got some new horse whisperer helping you," he joked. "She's not helping me," Harold said, almost offensively. "She's just visiting." "Sure looks like more than that," the sheriff replied, tipping his hat toward Lily. But not everyone was happy. There was a man named Frank Dawson, Harold's longtime rival. Years ago, they'd made a bet. Anyone who could tame Dakota would win the North Pasture, prime land Harold's family had held for decades. When Frank heard about Lily, he saw an opportunity. "You're using a child as your secret weapon?" He smirked one day, leaning against the fence. "She's not part of any bet," Harold snapped. "She's here because she cares." Frank chuckled. "Still makes you wonder. Does a horse truly count as tamed if only one small girl can handle it?" Harold stepped closer, jaw tight. "That girl has done more for that horse in 2 months than I could in a lifetime." The town started taking sides. Some said Lily was a miracle. Others said Harold was desperate. But none of it mattered to Lily. To her, Dakota wasn't a prize or a challenge. He was a friend. And to Dakota, Lily was the only person he trusted. On the day of the big demonstration, the final test of the bet, everyone came, the arena filled with people. Even Mayor Wilson arrived early. Sheriff Morgan and his deputies stood ready in case things got heated. Frank sat in the front row, surrounded by supporters. Harold stood beside Lily, looking down at her small frame. "We've practiced everything," Lily said confidently. "Dakota knows what to do." Harold crouched to meet her eye level. "Listen, Lily, whatever happens out there today, win or lose, I'm proud of what you've accomplished. With Dakota, with yourself." Lily blinked, surprised. "We wouldn't be here without you, Mr. Winters." "Call me Harold," he said with a small smile. As the crowd cheered and the announcer called them forward, Lily walked into the arena with Dakota at her side. He followed her, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. They performed every command flawlessly. Voice cues, obstacles, even tricks. And then Dakota reared, majestic, powerful, completely wild. Instead of flinching, Lily smiled. The crowd erupted. Mayor Wilson cleared his throat. By any reasonable standard, Dakota has shown himself to be partnered, if not conventionally tamed. The judges agreed, but Frank stood up, face red. "This is ridiculous. A technicality." "No," Harold said calmly. "This is growth." He turned to the crowd. "In fact, I've been thinking about that North Pasture." Silence fell. "That land has the best access to Silver Creek, the best grazing in the valley. Been in my family for 3 generations. He paused. "Which is why I'm announcing today that I'm placing it in a conservation easement. It won't belong to me or Frank or anyone else. It'll be protected land forever." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Frank stormed away. Later that night, under a sky full of stars, Lily sat on the porch with her grandmother, sipping hot cocoa. Harold joined them, awkwardly holding a mug of coffee. "You did something I couldn't," he admitted. "Something my wife tried to teach me for 30 years. Martha smiled. "She'd be proud of both of you." Harold looked at Lily. "What's next for you, kid?" Lily looked at Dakota, sleeping peacefully in the barn. "I want to learn more," she said. "About horses, about healing. Maybe even start a program for kids like me. Kids who need someone to listen." Harold nodded slowly. "You got vision." And for the first time in years, he smiled, not just with his lips, but with his eyes. Months later, the ranch became a sanctuary. Children came from all over to learn how to care for horses, not by force, but by understanding. And every day, Lily walked into the barn, greeted by Dakota, who nuzzled her hand and followed her willingly. Because true partnership isn't about power. It's about trust. Moral lesson. Sometimes the strongest hearts are the smallest ones, and the wildest spirits aren't meant to be broken, but understood.